What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in. It's 1TS Daily live right here at One True Sport. How's it going? I'm Zack Heydorn. I'm your host from Brashing Media and from Sports Illustrated. Pumped to be here. It is Tuesday, so I am on the road. I'm in my special spot, my Tuesday night, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday morning. Jeez, boy, what a day already. Tuesday morning spot for the show. And pumped to be here, pumped to have you guys here with me. And we got a lot to cover because last night was a pretty big episode of Monday Night Raw. And tonight is a packed episode of NXT. Was making notes this morning on that. And like, man, it's a big time show. It's a big time show. So lots to get to, some news to hit as well. And that's what we do here. And so let's get going. If you're watching or listening to us this morning on YouTube, hello. Thanks so much for being here. Do me a favor. As I always say, hit like. It's the best thing you can do to help the show. And so if you like what you're hearing, hit like and help me out. Would definitely appreciate that and help out One True Sport, help out 1TS Daily. Hello to everybody who's listening on Twitter X and watching on Twitter X. You can like too. You guys know how to do that. It's that little red, that little heart button. If you didn't know, hit that thing, and you can help us out that way too. I do have the live chat open and ready for you guys, ready and waiting for you guys to jump on in there and debate as much as you need. So. It's there, and that is my favorite part of this show, without question. It is a great way to start the day. It's a great way to start work here in the old wrestling journalism business, and I love hearing from you guys. So if you have a comment that you want to make on what I'm talking about, if you want to suggest a topic altogether, do that. If you want to just rant. And you need a place to do that. This is a safe place. This is a safe place. You can jump in and you can do that as well. So anything is open there. I'll try to get to as many as I can. We also have super chats open. So if you want to make sure that your rants can be heard, jump in on a super chat, make a contribution. Any contribution amount helps us out, and I'll make sure to read all super chats before our 25-minute show here is up. If it's your first time catching 1TS Daily, we're live every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for your quick hit pro wrestling show. Be here live. It's only 25 minutes. It's only 30 minutes. I try to make this, short and sweet. And to get you as much information as possible, get you ready for the day in pro wrestling. So make it part of your day. 1TS Daily, live here at One True Sport. All right, let's talk. We'll start with last night's episode of Monday Night Raw because obviously that's top of mind, and it was pretty newsworthy. Now, it was a taped show, so if you wanted spoilers, you definitely could have them. They were out there in abundance, but the show itself, I thought, it didn't feel taped. Obviously, if you knew it was taped, you could see, the taped elements. But if you're a casual fan, right, and you don't pay attention to, oh, they're taping, they're not taping, they're live, they're not live, you wouldn't have known. And for a couple different reasons. One, they had a lot of fresh kind of backstage vignettes and promos, so that worked. And two, the crowd reactions were big throughout. It wasn't anything where you were sitting there going, "Oh man, what's up with this audience?" Oh yeah, I forgot. They've already sat through one full episode of Raw. They seemed attentive and they seemed into what was going on. So that was the second thing. And the third thing is it was newsworthy. It was a newsworthy show on multiple different levels, and we'll get to why right now. The main event: Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed for the not a championship, but a grudge match and pride on the line. They've built this match up for a while. Obviously, they've had the crown jewel match. Seth Rollins is up 1-0. This always felt to me like it was a match that existed to further the Bloodline storyline. Like that to me is the point of this match. It existed to further the bloodline and war games. And so to that end, I think what we saw was the absolute perfect finish for the match. Look, you got a good match out of Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed. You saw Seth as a fighting babyface. You saw Bronson Reed as the monster who could be unbeaten. But in the end, it was the Bloodline faction that cost Seth the match, distracted him, allowed for Bronson Reed to get the upper hand. Now that makes sense because Bronson Reed is the fifth man on the new Bloodline team for Survivor Series, and as it just so happens, Seth Rollins is being courted to be the fifth man on the original Bloodline team. So this all made sense, and it checked a lot of boxes. It gave Bronson Reed a big win. He needed this win. He really needed this win. I mean, he had to have something over Seth, especially going into a big slot and a big main event at Survivor Series. So that was necessary. You needed to show that Bronson Reed was ingratiated into the new Bloodline faction, that he was, a part of that group, and that group was in with him. This did that as well. But probably most importantly, you have to give a reason for Seth to eventually join up with the OG Bloodline. And that is the biggest storyline element here with this finish. Seth has been just defiant to the notion that he would ever team with Roman Reigns again, period. And so you couldn't just have a situation where he says to himself, okay, I guess I'll join now. You have to give him an actual big time reason to want or be willing to join up with Roman again. And this, if it's sold properly by Seth, and if it's sold properly by Bronson Reed and by Roman Reigns and by the rest of the original Bloodline, then you have that. You have that reason. You have that storyline connectivity, and it all stems from this finish. So I liked what they did here quite a bit. I'm sure we're going to get that final piece of the puzzle next week on Raw. Seth Rollins joins the team. The question is, and I suppose it's worth talking about, is there any way that Seth isn't the fifth man for his team? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thumbs up, thumbs down. That's all I need. Could Seth still push back on Sami Zayn? Could he still push back on teaming up with Roman Reigns? Could you make that work at this point? Does anybody else for Team Bloodline make sense? I mean, there's one person that I think does, CM Punk. I mean, I think you could have Roman Reigns finally get the Bloodline, finally get Paul Heyman on the phone, and Heyman connects up with Punk, and Punk joins that team. That could work, and that could bring Paul Heyman back into the fold. It levels up star power with Punk being in the match, but that doesn't really make sense, with what's happened here, right? I mean, if Bronson Reed is on the other team, it kind of has to be Seth. So yeah, I think they could finagle their way through this and get to a team that Seth isn't on. But at this point, the logical choice should be Seth, and he should be on that team, and that makes all the sense in the world. I still don't think that this match needed to be 5-on-5. This is Bloodline versus Bloodline, guys. I just don't think you needed. I still think you needed to add to it. Yeah, Seth's kind of been hovering around the Bloodline stuff because he's opposite Roman, and yes, he's had his moments, but really, it not a feud that involves him much at all. I mean, Cody is more in it than Seth is, and Bronson Reed is definitely not really connected to any of it at all. So he's kind of like an odd man out. I don't know. I just think that a Bloodline versus Bloodline should be Bloodline versus Bloodline straight up, and you had 4-on-4. I think that That made the most sense. But that being said, now that they've decided to go down this path and add a fifth man in, I think what they've done, I think the story they've told with Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins has been well done, and the story has been well told. And so you got to give WWE props for that. Let's go to our live chat here and see what's going on. Andrew H has a couple notes for us here. Andrew says Bronson had to win. It's a good match. I thought it was a good match too. I thought they really. I haven't talked about this enough. I thought they did a really nice job of like showcasing Bronson Reed as this like unbeatable monster, and the announce team like sold that very well. Every time that he would kick out of like a big Seth Rollins move, they would comment on it and they would remind the audience that, hey, like that's a big moment. That's a big thing for Bronson Reed to do. And I think that was a good way to sell him as a threat. I think it was really, really effective. Let's see what else we got here. Andrew H also says, it does if you want to further the issue with Seth and build to Mania that Punk missed last year. I suppose this could be if Seth is in the War Games match and you have the Wise Man involved, like that's another way to connect Seth and Punk. So yeah, I think you might be onto something there, Andrew, for sure. We got Sayer that says, hey bro, I want to challenge you in a wrestling match on the trampoline. You do? You don't want any of this. You don't want any of this, Sayer. I can tell you that right now. You don't want this. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Thanks, Sayer. I appreciate you, man. And then we had Amy in here says, I almost missed On The Go Tuesday. Nobody wants. You can't miss On The Go Tuesday. If I can't miss On The Go Tuesday, you guys can't miss On The Go Tuesday. So, Amy, glad to have you here. Super glad to have you here. Always good to see you in the live chat. Thank you. All right. So that's that. We'll have to see where they go with this. But Seth Rollins, I think he does need the bloodline. I think it's safe to say that he does need the bloodline at this time. Goodness gracious. All right. The other big development on the show this week was we have a women's War Games match set, for better or worse. It's going to be Rhea Ripley. It's going to be Naomi. It's going to be Bianca Belair. It's going to be Jade Cargill. And it's going to be Io Sky taking on Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Candice LeRae, and Raquel Rodriguez, 5-on-5. The show opened this week with Liv Morgan, and they kind of did that whole parade of people, right, coming out to the ring. And they set up the match, and they've been trending this way for a while. My hope was that they wouldn't go there. My hope was that they would maybe do an elimination match or something, unless some kind of traditional Survivor Series match. But they didn't, and they decided that they need to do War Games. So Rhea Ripley returned. She's been gone for a couple weeks. She returned here. She just got a protective face mask on, and that looked badass. Like that really looked like, okay, she's gonna hurt some people out there for sure. Yikes. But yeah, I thought her return was really good, and she got a big reaction, and she continues to get big reactions, and that, look, if you're WWE, you're loving that. You're absolutely loving that. She is a key piece of the puzzle right now for Raw and for your women's division. And so that's top-notch stuff, and they need to take care of her. I don't think this match needs to be a War Games match. I mean, look, it doesn't need to be a War Games match. And I don't think you need to have War Games matches just to have them. It's nothing against women's War Games matches. I think women's War Games matches should be a thing, just like men's War Games matches. But the difference is, put some effort in behind it. Put some reasoning behind it. Like, it doesn't feel like these women hate each other as much as they say that they hate each other, or that they said they hated each other last night, right? It just feels like someone in the back was like, "Oh crap, we need a War Games match. So let's throw this all at the wall and hope some of it sticks, and we'll get there. That's what this feels like, to be frank. And when you have look, War Games matches, having two on a show, that's difficult. I mean, that's difficult for fans to get into. It's also difficult for the wrestlers to make those two matches stand out in different ways, so you're not doing the same stuff in each match. That's tough. That is tough. And I think with the Bloodline story being so prominent, and this showdown being so important to that storyline, if I'm Paul Levesque, I want to save everything that I have, everything for that match and that match alone. And they're not going to do that now. They're going to have to hedge. They're going to have to hold stuff back because the women are going to need spots to do in their match too. So, yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with this. I think it's just ineffective, and I just don't think this feud is ready. For that. Andrew H says here, "Mommy, best woman in the world," and you also don't believe in Joe Hendry, sir. Hey, I kind of believe in Joe Hendry. All right, my outright disbelief in Joe Hendry, that is not correct. Although I can count on you, Andrew, always to call me out on that. But no, it is not that I don't believe in women's War Games matches. Like I said, truthfully, they just need to have the same attention that the men's War Games matches have. That's what's important here. It's not the match. It's the attention to the match. It's the attention to detail. It's giving the match the necessary build and the necessary hype. I mean, think about it. Look, the men's War Games match this year has had 7 months worth of hype. I mean, that, and if you take into account stuff prior to WrestleMania, it's even more than that. So it's night and day when you think about it from that perspective. I mean, it really is. Okay. Also on Raw, we had a backstage segment with Gunther and Damian Priest, and one of the weirdest Raw segments that we've had for a while. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you. So did this stand out? I feel like I'm the only one out there commenting on this and writing about this right now. So Gunther's backstage. He's talking with Ludwig Kaiser. Ludwig, they have a little bit of an argument, a little bit of a tough heart to heart. Ludwig Kaiser leaves the frame, and then Gunther sees Damian Priest sitting there, signing autographs, which is 5 feet away from him. And he didn't see him before that. Come on. But that weirdness aside, he takes off his jacket and then runs over and tries to choke Priest out. And all that happens is Priest backs him into the wall, kicks him, and then Gunther's down for the count. And then Priest says, "Hey, in the ring is one thing, but in the street, I'm the king." And then he steps over the fallen Gunther to walk out of the frame. It's this was by far the weakest presentation of Gunther that we've seen on the main roster yet. And I just didn't know what this was all about. And I didn't like it. It was not a good presentation of Gunther. Yes, they're trying to tell a storyline of Gunther not having the same level of confidence that he had prior to his match with Cody Rhodes. This story, this segment was there to further that. But they missed the mark. This just kind of presented Gunther as this weakling. And there he is selling one little kick. And it's that's not Gunther. That's not Gunther. That felt off. That felt just totally out of character for him to lose that type of fight backstage. And again, I know they're going for that in terms of what the story is, but you have to be able to tell this in a better way. Gunther is one of the most important talents on the show. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is one of the most important talents on the show, period. And he needs better protection than that. Even if you're going to tell this story, which I think is a fine story to tell. It's not that. It's that it's just you got to do it better. You got to do it more effectively. And I was sitting there going like, what are they doing with Gunther? He looks like a total goof out there. You can't have that. You can't have that. Now, as for Priest, he looked okay. I mean, he looked pretty good taking out Gunther that way, but Gunther's still the more important guy, and he's your world champion. Like, you don't treat him like that. You really don't, and you really can't. And so I thought that was a really kind of a low point on the show, without question. This week we got some more development in the New Day kind of feud. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. We're going to be celebrating the New Day. Is that where they greenlight this heel turn? Does Xavier Woods finally snap? I'd say yes. I think that is on the horizon of stuff that is going to happen sooner than later. All right, that's Raw. Pretty good show. Top to bottom. You can read my full review over at Brass Ring Media on our Substack newsletter. Just search Brass Ring Media Substack, and you get all my written work for Brass Ring Media, editorials, features, show reviews, and whatnot. Just dropped my Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame ballot up there too, so you guys can see who I voted for and why, and lots of other stuff. So Brass Ring Media Substack, totally free to subscribe. You get all this stuff right to your inbox every single morning. I'm proud of what we do with it. So check that out right now. I also wrote a hits and misses column for Sports Illustrated on Raw this week. You can check it out, Sports Illustrated. Right now, the takedown on SI. That's the site. Just search that in Google. It'll be the first thing that pops up. It's also on my Twitter, at Zack_Heydorn. I'm on Blue Sky too, in case you're part of the Great Migration. Check it out. It's been fun. I highly recommend. There's a lot of pro wrestling activity there. So check that out. I'm Zack Heydorn at Blue Sky. Just my name, Zack Heydorn at Blue Sky. Cool? Check that out. All right. Tonight, NXT is big. It's like an oddly big show. We've got, and here's the card in full. I'll run it down for you here. A number one contendership match for the NXT Championship. Andre Chase versus Ridge Holland. If Andre Chase loses, Chase U is going to disband. More drama in Chase University. We got an Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying match. Stephanie Vaquer versus Jada Parker. We've got a second Iron Survivor qualifying match in the women's division. Zarya versus Ren Sinclair. On the men's side of things, Nathan Frazier versus Eddie Thorpe for an Iron Survivor Challenge slot. Tony D'Angelo is going to face Brooks Jensen, and Ashante the Adonis will team with Carmen Petrovic against Dion Lennox and Brinley Reese. And finally, of course, Fatal Influence is going to address the NXT audience. Last week, of course, so we had Fallon Henley retain her NXT Women's North American Championship against oh my gosh, I'm totally forgetting her name. This is embarrassing. What is her name? The former champion. Let's just call her that, because I am not going to remember this. If you're in the live chat right now and you can remember who it is that Fallon Henley beat, is the former champion. Oh my God. I could sit here live and try to think of it, but that would not make for good podcasting or good YouTubing. Kalani Jordan. That's what it is. Goodness gracious. Apologies to Kalani Jordan. Shout out to her. She's great. Fallon Henley beat Kalani Jordan last week. So there you go. So that's the show. These Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying matches are interesting. Like, Jada Parker has been somebody that NXT has been pushing, but she's going up against Stephanie Vaquer. So obviously, I think that one is going to go Vaquer's way. Same thing with Zarya and Ren Sinclair. Like, that to me is a squash, if you ask me. I think there's obviously no way Ren Sinclair wins that match. It's going to be Zarya moving on. Nathan Frazier versus Eddie Thorpe. I mean, that's more of a toss-up. Eddie Thorpe finally getting some time. I've been high on Eddie Thorpe. I think he's been underutilized, and I think he's a good talent. So I'll take him in that match. I just think Nathan Frazier's in the tag division, so I think he'll he'll stay there. So I think Evie Thorpe wins this one. Tony D'Angelo and Brooks Jensen. It's a non-title match, so I can see Brooks Jensen getting the W. Ashante the Adonis and Carmen Petrovic. They've been brewing that relationship. I think they're going to get a win there. And for the main event, Andre Chase and Ridge Holland, it's odd to just not have Chase University or have Andre Chase without Chase University or really have anybody in Chase U without Chase U. But I can't see Ridge Holland's not going to lose this match. They've been pushing him hard. And Trick Williams needs a deadline opponent, and Ridge Holland's going to be that guy. So really the question is, what do they do with Andre Chase University after this? Because I don't think he comes out. I don't think he comes out on top, and I think Chase U's going to disband. As sad as that is, poor Chase U. All right, that's NXT. Real quick, a couple things on the news front. Will Ospreay took to social media yesterday and kind of reflected on his 1 year time with AEW. It's an interesting post, and he thanks the AEW audience, and he thanks the AEW kind of universe, and he thanks AEW and Tony Khan. And I think that's just first of all, I can't believe it's already been a year since he joined AEW. It feels like he's been in AEW for so much longer than that. But alas, it's been 1 year, and he's been a high point of AEW in what has been a down 12 months for them. The saving grace in a lot of ways is Will Ospreay. And so I thought it was just interesting to note that he did reflect on that. Also, Swerve Strickland posted a very cryptic message with an x-ray of his shoulder that indicates he may be injured. Now, we don't know the extent of the injury. We don't know if it's actually a shoot injury or part of a work concerning the beatdown that he took at the hands of the Hurt Syndicate last week. But needless to say, something to watch. The match is still on as of this time for Full Gear on Saturday, which, by the way, we'll preview Full Gear in full later this week on Friday. So you're not going to want to miss that. Make it an appointment. Be here on Friday for your Full Gear preview. Real quick, one more note here from Candy, who jumps in and goes, the only thing that will make sense is if Seth joins the the only thing that will make sense if Seth joins the OG Bloodline is if Rock comes out. Yeah, I mean, good point, Candy. The Rock hovering around this whole thing is something to watch, concerning all Bloodline stories, really. Whether it's Paul Heyman or whether it's Survivor Series or whether it's something else, him around has to be in the back of everybody's mind. And so I think it's a good call, Candy. Thank you so much. All right, guys, we'll wrap up there. Tuesday, 1TS Daily is done. Once again, check out more of my work at Brass Ring Media. We have a YouTube channel. I already talked about the Substack newsletter. You can subscribe there totally for free. And follow me on social media at Zack_Heydorn and at Blue Sky, Zack Heydorn. And you know the rest. Just search Zack Heydorn, you'll find me. Cool. Thank you so much to everybody who joined the show. Thanks for watching. If you can hit like, no matter where you're watching, that'd be much appreciated. And we'll be back tomorrow to talk NXT and preview Dynamite and so much more. 1TS Daily, live here at One True Sport. I'm Zack Heydorn. Have a great Tuesday. We'll talk to you all really soon. See ya.